Good morning, Break to Educate friends. This is our last B2E session for the summer. We'll start again in September, around September 1st, just as we are going to do with the Lunch and Learns. Today, our B2E is going to cover Excel tips. I know that I sometimes, when I use Excel, it's like, oh, I used to know how to do that. I wonder how I do, and then I have to teach myself all over again. But Tammy is our resident Excel lover. It's her favorite, it is her favorite app. So she should be pretty good with it. As she's talking, feel free to post questions and we will answer them as they come in, and also please join our off air afterwards in Google Plus. So, all right, Tammy, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Jean, and happy Friday, everybody. She is right. I do love Excel. I actually have done a lot of documents in Excel as opposed to Word just because I like the way the features are more easy for me to understand. And so as I talk about Excel, there are going to be different ways to do different things. One way I may do it may not be the same way that you would do it. That's one nice feature about Excel is there's many ways to do different things. So we're just going to touch base on some things that we feel are kind of important. So I'm just going to basically go through some steps and create a Excel spreadsheet and show you some tips and tricks. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them. And if you give me just a second, excuse me, I got a cough. I will show you some things that I find helpful. So I'm going to do a screen share. So let's go ahead and get that started. Can you all see the Excel spreadsheet I have open? I just have a blank spreadsheet open. Now when you open Excel, it immediately becomes open to this grid of columns and rows. And I think that's why I like it, because I'm analytical. I have a math background, and I just like to be able to have my area where I can just type in sections. So that's one nice feature of Excel. So the first thing that I'm going to just do is kind of start a worksheet and show you some simple features that I kind of like. So the cursor right now is in A1, and as you all know, the references for Excel are in terms of columns and rows. So right now my cursor is A1, or the home area, and it goes over by columns in alphabetical order and then down in rows by numerical order. So the first thing I'm going to show you is one feature I just really like, and it's called an autofill. And you can autofill just about any series there is, but Excel thinks for you. So one of the best ones I know of is the months of the year. So let's just try that. If I type in January in A1 and hit enter to enter my information in January, I can go back up to A1 and grab the corner, and if you can see that in the lower right hand corner is a little black box. If I move my mouse to get the crosshair and click on that and hold the left button down and drag, you can see that Excel is going to autofill for me. If I let go, it's going, when I let go of the left hand button, it will autofill what it assumes I want, and which is the months of the year. And I can click and keep going, and if you notice, it pops out to the side and tells me this is the month I'm on, and then I know when December quits, and I can just hit enter or let go of the mouse and or hit enter, and it autofills this for me. Another wonderful thing it autofills are days of the week, so we could also do that. If I typed in Monday, I could grab the area and fill down, and it would continue to autofill for that. Now, for instance, say if I didn't want to start with Monday, say I wanted to start with Sunday, which is technically the first day of the week, I could also do that, and it will autofill and pick up from wherever it started. It just automatically knows. Now, it will do this for dates as well. If I were to type in here May 10th, and then I typed in May 11th. I could also grab this area and it would autofill the days of the month for me. And you can see that it also goes into the next month, so it doesn't just finish the actual ending day of May. Now, the one thing that it doesn't do is automatically fill is for numbers. You have to tell it the increase that you want. So say I wanted to have a column of numbers going from 1 to 30, but I didn't want to type them all in. I could type in the first one, which is the number 1, type in the second one, which is number 2. So my increase is by 1. At this point, I would have to highlight both rows to let Excel know what my increase is. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. I'll grab this and autofill down to, what did I say, 30? Let's just stop at 30. And then it knows that it wants to increase by 1 as it goes down. Say I wanted to do this by 5s. I could start with 5, and then my next increment would be 10. I can highlight both of these rows, grab this, and go down, and it would increase by 5. So for just generic numbers, Excel does need to know the increment that you want to use. For items that it already knows the increments, such as months or dates or days of the week, it will automatically autofill. There is a place on the ribbon, which is this area up here, that you can also do this without grabbing the crosshair, and it's over here under Editing and Fill, and you can tell it to go down, right, up, left, what the series is that you would like to do, how you would like it to grow, and that type of thing, what date unit you want. So you can autofill pretty much anything. But the easiest way to do it is to grab that little black box and drag down. Now I could also go across if I wanted to do by 10s, and I wanted to do this as 20, and I highlighted this and dragged across. It would also increase. So you can go up and down or across. So that feature to me is just a wonderful thing. I use it all the time, especially for days of the month or just a list that I want to make. Instead of typing them all in, I can just put my 2 dates or 2 numbers in and then autofill that series. So next, I'm going to actually get rid of some of this. Delete that. And I am going to insert a row here because I want to create a little grid here. So I'm going to insert a row, and I want to insert a row above where I am, where my cursor is right now. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say insert, and I want to insert an entire row above where I am, and it will automatically pop my sheet down one and give me an extra row. So here I'm going to put the days of the week across the top. Again, I'm going to grab this right here and I'm going to drag it across all the way to Sunday and let go. Now, say I have this spreadsheet or this data range that I want to use, and I'm going to enter a bunch of data going down and across. And as I get farther down, I'm just going to arrow down. As I'm going down, notice that my columns and my rows disappear. Well, I want to be able to see which column I'm on. And I'm clear down here and I can't see that anymore because my Excel spreadsheet has scrolled down. What I'm going to do is show you how to freeze panes. This, I find, feature is very helpful. Now, another quick keyboard shortcut that I have learned is that I want to go back up to the beginning. If I hit the control button, hold the control button down, hit the home key, it automatically takes me to A1. So anywhere you are in your spreadsheet, you could be clear over 17 columns and down 150 rows. If you hold down the control key, hit the home button, it will take you back up to the corner, which I find very helpful. So to freeze panes, we're going to move the cursor to the area where I want the panes to be frozen at the top and to the right. So that is under View, under my menu up here, and here, Freeze Panes. So I'm going to click the little down arrow, and it's going to say I'm going to freeze the panes here. I can either choose just the top row, or I can choose the first column, or I can do both. So I'm going to do both for right now. So if I freeze the panes, it's going to freeze the column above and the column to the left. So if when I scroll down, it will hold that row in place so I can see what column I'm on. Again, I'm going to Control Home, and then I'm going to scroll to the right and show you how it freezes the columns to the left. I just find this very helpful because it helps me keep track of where I am in the spreadsheet. Hit Control Home again. Here I am. Now if you want to take those off, you just go back to Freeze Panes and say Unfreeze Panes. You can also just do the top row, and you can see it enters the black line saying just the top row, or you can do just the first column, that as well, and it will change to the column. I'm going to unfreeze those panes. So I find that feature very, very, very helpful. So let's go on to formatting cells. Say I have some data here that I want to enter, and I've noticed that here my Wednesday doesn't quite fit in the column. Well, I want to be able to make it so that I can read the whole word. The quickest and easiest way to do it is to move the mouse to get the crosshair on the line between column D and column E and double click. What Excel does then is automatically adjust that column to fit whatever is the longest string of data or text in that column. So when I double clicked on that, it automatically adjusted it so I could read the entire Wednesday. If you look at Friday, there's quite a bit of space here at the end. If I were to double click there, it would make it smaller. So it automatically adjusts to whatever is the largest piece of data in that column, which I find extremely helpful, especially when I've overlapped my columns. There is another way to do that as well. If I go back home and I go to Format, I can also auto-fit my row height, which is what I just did, or auto-fit my column width, which is also the same thing, and or I can change them according to a number. So say I want my column width, it's 10.29. I have no idea what that means in pixel terms, but if I were to make that 20, I could do that, say OK, and it would automatically adjust that. That to me is a little more confusing because I don't know exactly what that 20 stands for. But if I go back here and double click this, it's automatically going to adjust it so it all fits exactly the same. But say, now I don't like this because this is skinny and this one's fat and this one's even fatter. I want them all to be the same. So I'm going to click here, anywhere in this column, hold down my left button and highlight over. Because I want every single one of these columns to be the exact same size. I can apply this to more than one column at a time. I go back to Format, and I go to Column Width, and I saw that 20 was pretty big. I'm going to change it to about 15. I'm going to make them all the same size. Click OK. It automatically adjusts each one of these columns to be 15, whatever that pixel is, so they're all nice and symmetrical, which I find kind of nice. You can do the same thing for the rows. If I highlight down, choose more than one, click, I can change the row height. Right now it's 15. I want them a little fatter. Let's make them 20. Say OK. Automatically adjusts all of those rows to the same height and the same width. Now this is one of Jean's favorites. We're going to change some of the way that the row 1 looks. So we're going to highlight the entire thing right here. And she doesn't like the boring old plain old straight line here. So we're going to tilt this. So right up here on our home ribbon under alignment, there's a little A and B here. We're going to click that down arrow and we're going to angle these counterclockwise. And then that makes them very printy. It puts them at a slanted and also kind of fits them into the column a little nicer so that you're looking at it with a little bit more flair. You can also rotate them. Oh, I didn't highlight them first. How about I do that? There we go. Rotate text up. You can format the cell alignment, and I believe that gives you the ability to choose your little clock orientation yourself. Say you don't really want it at a complete angle, you want them at the angle that you choose. This is 44. Oh, I got to change that to 45. Or maybe we want them at 30. that's the degree that we want. We can also wrap the text so that if we had a very long string of text, it would wrap everything together in one cell so that it was easy to read, shrink to fit. We could also merge across the cells so we put everything in one cell. I find that a little confusing because then you've got one row of columns that one row is wrapped and the rest of them aren't, or merged but the rest of them aren't. We'll just go ahead and click OK. And there we've got a little bit more of a slant. So, and you're right, Jean, that does look very pretty. So, impressive. So, that's one nice feature. So we're going to make our little grid a little bit better. Let's say we want to have this area actually print these grid lines when we're going to print this area out. We want to make it a true grid. Well, there's two things. There are grid lines and there are borders. So you don't want to be confused. So if we go to the view, if I see here on the grid lines they're checked on, it's going to show me these light gray lines. If I take that off, it's going to take them off. Now it looks more like a Word document. To me, that's taken away the effect of my grid. But for some things, you may want to have those grid lines disappear. But they don't actually print when you're printing them, but it does make it a little bit more, your depth is a little bit different and the view is a little bit different if you would like that. Preferably, I would rather have them turned on. So if you find an Excel spreadsheet without those gray lines, that's what happened. The grid lines are turned off. So let's turn them back on just by clicking the box and putting the check mark back. But we want to create a grid here that has borders around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with this one. I'm going to right click, quickest way I know to get there, go to Format Cells, and move this over a little bit. We just did alignment not too long ago. Let's do borders. We're going to click on the tab for borders, and it shows here, this is my text in my cell. I want to put a border around that entire cell. I can either click them on or off, however I want. I can also use this nice outline. That will put them all on there, but I can choose which ones I want. I can also choose a style. I'm going to make them a little bit thicker. Let's choose this one. So when I click OK, and I go off that, I can see now that I've got a border around this, which is really nice because that will print. But say I want it on the entire grid. So I'm going to click the area here, highlight what I want it to apply to, right click, Format Cells, choose the outline feature for all of them. I also want to include the inside because if I don't, it will only do the outside, it won't do the inside. Inside, I can see here that this is the area that's going to be done. I'm going to change this to a little thicker, click OK, and now I've got a beautiful grid here. I could also put some different settings here, right click, format. I like this dash line thing, that's kind of neat. I'm going to put it on the sides. Say OK. And now I've got this nice separation of my data. Now when I print this out, it's actually going to print those borders. So that's kind of the difference between grid lines and borders, which I really find very nice. Now I haven't entered my data yet, but I kind of want to print this out. I just want to see how nice it looks. So I could just go to the file and hit print. But whatever I have on this data, I'm going to close that. Oh, let me get back to my spreadsheet. Where did my spreadsheet go? Did I lose it here? There we go. Okay, cancel. I really only want to print this area. Say I have some data over here that I'm going to enter into my spreadsheet later. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have this data over here, but I don't want to print that. I only want to print this. I'm going to set my print area. So to do that, I would highlight the area I want to print because this is all I want to print, and I would set that print area. Say File and Print, and when I print that, then this is the area that I want to print because that's what I've highlighted. Now, one thing that I have found very helpful is when I do this, I don't want to have to go in here and check this out. I want to make sure that what I have put onto my spreadsheet and what I want to print is set. So I'm going to go back home, and I have entered this I've added this Set Print Area button to my ribbon because that is one item that I use a lot. So if you want to add items to your ribbon up here, it's very simple to do. If you just click this little down arrow, it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar. Click that. Now it gives you some options of things that are already on my toolbar and some things that it thinks that you might want to use often, but say I don't see the command there I want. So I'm going to click More Commands. Now it will show me all of the commands here that I could add to my ribbon. These are the most popular. Say I use copy a lot. I'm going to use copy. So I'm going to click on copy. I'm going to add it to my ribbon. It's going to pop it over here to this left-hand side. I'm going to say OK. And now I have a new icon that's easy to get to that says that's my copy button. If I use that quite a bit. If I want to get rid of it, go to More Commands, take it off, and say Remove. Now if you don't see the command that you want, you can click the down arrow up here, choose all commands, and every command known possible in Excel is added here, and you can add it to your ribbon. You see here I have done the set print area, and I've also included the find. I like those two. I use them a lot. I didn't want to have to go look in the ribbon for them, so I just added them to my quick access toolbar. So I'm going to click cancel. So if I were to highlight this area and click the set print area, it automatically knows that's what I want to print. I've added the printer button. I could just click the quick print and boom, there I have what I want to print. So I've got everything at my fingertips instead of having to go look for it in the menu or the toolbar. So let's talk about worksheets. If you notice when you have an Excel spreadsheet, it automatically gives you 3 sheets to work with. You can easily navigate between the 3 sheets just by clicking on them. But say I want a different spreadsheet for each day of the week or for different years. This is my year for 2014. So I'm going to rename this sheet to say this is my data for year 2014. The easiest way to do it is double click. We'll highlight that. I can type in 2014 and boom. The name of my spreadsheet there is 2014. I'm going to go to the second sheet. Now I'm going to do this again in 2015. So I'm going to double click this and say 2015, but there's no data there. So the easiest way to do this would be to go back to 2014 because I want the exact same information in the same formatting, and I want everything to be identical in 2014 and 2015. So what I'm going to do is go down here and right click, and I'm going to say Move or Copy. I'm going to tell it that I want to create a copy of the worksheet that I'm in. I'm going to put it before 2015, say OK. Now what it's going to do, it's going to create another spreadsheet that's identical to 2014. So I don't have to go to the business of highlighting and copying. I can just automatically create this spreadsheet or this worksheet, and it will have the exact same formatting as my other one did. Now I've noticed that I actually I've already put in 2015, so I'll just make this one 2016 and double click that, change that to 16. Now I realize that my worksheets are out of order. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. So I just want to move it. Now I could right click and say move and tell it I actually want to move this one before sheet 3, which is the empty spreadsheet. I could do that, or I could just click, hold it. You can see that Excel is going to say, what do you want to do? You've got this chosen. I can move it over to past 15 and drop it, and it will automatically move my worksheet. Now they're in order. Now I'm happy. So there I have my data, just like that. So that's a very easy way to move data around, and you can just shortcut by double clicking to rename it. Let's see. I noticed earlier that we were kind of doing a test, and Jean and she had entered a date on her Excel spreadsheet, and she entered May 10th. So I'm going to enter May 10th right here. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, that's not the way I entered it. It just automatically formatted this date to what it wanted it, what I thought I wanted. I don't like that. So I'm going to right-click for my cells, go to the number tab, choose date, and choose the actual formatting of the one that I wanted. Well, I don't see it. So what I'm going to do is customize one. I want the day to be the month and the day. Or the, well, let's see. And I think that I should be able to change this. So it shows me this is the one I want. I don't want that one. I want to take off the year. I'm going to erase that and say OK. This is the formatting that it gave me. Now, I could format it again and choose, say I wanted it to actually spell the word out. Let's find one that's similar to it. I don't really see them. The one I want. So I'm wondering if it'll let me say month, day. No, doesn't like that one. So you can change the form, custom at them if you want it to show up a little bit differently than what you normally entered. Because the problem is, say that I enter this data and I want to also put in here May 10th. And I've entered that data, but I decided I wanted in this column, I actually wanted information here. I wanted 125. When I enter 125, since it's already formatted for the date, it doesn't return the number 125. It returns the numbered day from the beginning of time, which I think is 111. So 125 days from 111, it entered here. So that's not really what I wanted. So sometimes you have to be very careful about when you're typing in information. Are you formatting for the day? Are you formatting for a number? Or formatting the currency? So just make sure that when you format, when you go to the format cells, you're actually choosing the number that you want returned. And if you look at each one of these different pieces, it will give you the sample of what you have there. See, but the date, okay, it's 1/1/1900. So that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted the number 125. That's a little confusing. If anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to ask. But you have to be very careful with your formatting, because if you're not, then it tends to, Excel thinks that you wanted a date and you didn't. Sometimes it thinks too much for you, and I don't like that. So that's really kind of all I have right now, except for some graphs. We're going to do a little bit of inserting of graphs right now. There's so much in Excel that you can really talk about, and these to me are just some shortcut things that I just find really helpful. I will mention right before I go to the graphs, so I often see people, when they want to apply something to the entire column, they'll click in the column and highlight the entire column. When you do that, it highlights and applies whatever you're doing from row 1 to the very bottom of the spreadsheet. When you get down a little further, you may not want to actually have what you've chosen to do by clicking that entire column applied to those cells. I really strongly suggest that you don't ever highlight the entire column, or you can do the same with the rows, entire rows, unless you're positively sure that is what you want to do for the entire column or for that row, because there's a lot of data over to the left and down at the bottom. You may not be quite sure that that's the information you want to apply to those cells. So the best thing to do is just only highlight the areas, clicking and dragging, that you really want to apply what you're about to do, because you could really mess something up. Say, for instance, I got off on the spreadsheet somewhere and I was clear down here and I entered a number and didn't realize I had done it, and then I'm going to hit Control Home and go home. I've got data down there in the corner that I didn't really know that I did. So when I highlight that column, it's going to change that data, and it may mess up my print area. It may mess up my calculations. It may just do a lot of things I didn't want it to do. So be very careful when you highlight the entire column or the entire row. That's really what you want it to do. You want it to apply to everything in that spreadsheet, because that may not be the case of what you want to do. So let's do a graph. I already entered some data down here with our dates. We're going to enter the rest of this data here. I don't really know what I'm entering dates for. We'll just say it's just some numbers I want to enter, and I want to create a graph. If I highlight the areas, we're going to say this is the number of phone calls I received in a day on these days. So I'm going to go up to Insert, and we're going to do a bar graph. I'll use this one. And there I have my my graph. It just automatically popped this graph here, and I realized that I have gotten my information here, and these are the number of phone calls I've received, and this is the date. But then the boss lady says she wants this in reverse order. This is one of her things. Now, I'm going to have to try to remember how to do this. So I may have to have Jean step me through this. So
I knew you would get your dig into me, Tammy.
I forgot where you said this was. See?
Okay, click in the chart.
Okay, I'm in the chart.
And then it will open up, and I can't see it.
The layout, the design, and my chart tools.
Yes.
Is it under Format?
Tools, and it's under Format. It'll bring, nope, it's not under Format. There, I can see it now. Layout.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you would go to Axes.
Okay, and so this is my vertical axis I want to change. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then I want more options.
Uh-huh.
And there it is right there, dates in reverse order.
Yeah, I just wanted this one shown because when I first had to do it, I looked forever for this. So it's a good thing to check back in the back of your mind.
So there we did it. So that was very easy. Now if we're going to go back there to the primary vertical axis and more primary options, and look at all these different options you have. If you're looking for something in particular, automatically select the base data, change your tick marks, the horizontal crosses. You can change just about anything here that you want. So it's kind of nice. I didn't actually even know this was here, but it does make it very nice if you want to change it in reverse order, because I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Jean said that she even tried changing the order on our original data, and that didn't work, but this did. So there are just so many different things you can do with graphs. Really probably could be a whole nother session. But if there's a way to do it, Excel's got it somewhere that's quick and easy to get to, I'm sure. So I can't really think of anything too much else to add. These are things that I just use a lot. Like I said, everybody uses Excel differently. You may have something that you do that you find very helpful. There are so many formulas that you can use. It's just a very good tool. So, Jean, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. We're really out of time, so we appreciate you, Tammy.
Well, thank you. If anyone does have any specific questions, I'd be happy to help you with them. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to look for it, and we'll find out together, so we can learn together. So.
Okay, great. As I mentioned, this is the last in this year's series. We'll be back in September after we get all the incoming students settled in and used to ATSU technology. So in the meantime, if you have any questions about this presentation, please feel free to ask them on off air or shoot an email or an IM to Tammy or myself. So we appreciate your following us, and we will see you virtually in September. Bye.
Bye, everybody.